Welcome to the next installment of the Aspen New Voices, Voices of Resilience podcast. I'm your co-host, Rene Sparks. I'm a professional, a nurse or a public health professional based in Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Sabri. Go ahead, Taha.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Taha Sabri, and I'm a doctor working in public mental health in Pakistan. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our guest for today, Juliet Otieno, who's the founder of Mwanadada CBO, which is a digital communication consultancy, and she is an alumnus of the Emerging Leaders Foundation. She's a master's student development communication and a sexual and reproductive health rights activist. So very pleased to have her here today. So welcome, Juliet. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So Juliet, I'll just go on to the first question. So you're doing some great work in sexual and reproductive health. So can you tell us a bit about what sparked this journey? What really motivated you to embark on this really important mission?
Well, as you rightly said, that I am in communication, and I am the founder of a nonprofit called Mwanadada Initiative, which is a nonprofit that targets young women and girls, training them. It promotes education, access to education, promotes access to sexual reproductive health education, and also girls' welfare. And why I began this work, I am a person who was infected with HIV at the young age of 17 when I was in high school. And due to my experiences through all my adult life, I have known how to live with HIV because at 17. So all the experiences that I've gathered throughout the journey have led me to sort of start mentoring other young women, other young girls, sharing my experiences, sharing my stories, my learned lessons along the journey, and up to a point where it started to become bigger.
How old were you when that happened?
Okay, when I was infected with HIV, I was 17. Then I got, when I discovered that I was pregnant, I was, that's when I also discovered that I was HIV positive. Then after the years, my child died. At 18, I gave birth to a baby boy. He died at 5 months, and then I got a stroke, which left me paralyzed the right side. So all these experiences that are seemingly negative have built upon my passion to educate young women, because I'm looking at myself as a young girl, as a 17-year-old girl. I didn't know about sexuality. I didn't know about HIV. I used to access HIV education through adverts, which were really bad that time. But as time progresses, circumstances change. The circumstances surrounding HIV education, around sexuality education, but then something that remains constant is the statistics. For example, a large majority of new infections nowadays are from the adolescents, and majority of them are young girls. So I take my situation, my story, and I use it for the current scenario And I try to mentor young girls, but also I thought this is not enough, that just mentoring, because during my mentorship sessions, I meet young girls. For example, this is one girl that I met about 2 years ago, in one of my mentorship sessions in Kisumu.
Mm-hmm.
She had a baby, and the baby was less than 1 year old. And she told me after the mentorship that she had an accident. And I probed. I asked, what was the accident? Then she said, a male teacher who was her primary school teacher, had just impregnated her. And she sat KCSE, the primary school examination, with when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And now she had given birth, and now she was looking at her life now. Her education is will no longer be there. I encouraged her and took money out of my salary and paid for her school fees.
Jeez, Julie.
Put
so,
her.
So what you are describing is not only having started an NGO, which, I mean, you started off the back of just giving back to the community is what I'm understanding, but you go above and beyond what your organization even stands for on a very personal level by mentoring people who are still in need of this and basically, you know, helping them just to take back their agency. So that's a really incredible story, really powerful. If I may just ask, I mean, you speak very publicly about living with HIV. Just how difficult was it actually to be coming out and telling people that this is what you're living with? And then how acceptable was that? I mean, how do you actually keep yourself going, coming out in different spaces, speaking about it openly? I can't imagine it to be easy.
Well, it's not easy. Sometimes I have decided to just hang my advocacy boots and just continue with my career. But after getting an opportunity to talk about my status, the amount of people who reach out to me and tell me, you've changed my life. The amount of people who say, but you are so happy. Even when you are talking, you are smiling. What makes you strong? I'd like to know. And then I get referrals to other young people to encourage them to continue medication. For example, there's a young person the young people who are born with HIV. I got the HIV when I was 17, but there are people who are born with HIV and they are under medication. Sometimes you get somebody has reached that treatment fatigue, and I get these referrals to talk to them and to encourage them. And see, they reach out, those young people reach out to me and tell me, you changed my perspective. I've seen that it's possible to live with HIV. To answer your question, that why I decided to come out publicly and to share, and why I have gained that courage is because I believe to whom much is given, much is required. Right now, I have HIV and I have lived with HIV for 20 years, since 2001. There are people who had HIV and we were working with through this journey, but they died. Not because I was better, not because I was any not because I deserved to live, but because I see it as there's a reason why I am still alive. And that reason is to spread hope, to encourage fellow people living with HIV, and also to prevent other young girls, other young people, not only girls, from if my story can prevent them from getting HIV, then be it.
That's
Fantastic.
Thank you so much and for sharing that. And if we talk a bit about, because of course, as Rene mentioned, it must have been incredibly difficult. Yeah, the kind of challenges that you must have encountered on this journey must have been tremendous. So so what kind of issues did you face? Like what kind of obstacles did you surmount in your journey to deal with your own diagnosis of HIV? If you could share some of those with our audience.
First of all, I dealt with the self-stigma that I didn't want to hear anybody talk about HIV. I didn't want anybody to even hear adverts talking about HIV. I thought they were directed toward me. So I had a lot of self-stigma. When I was tested, I stayed without telling anyone. Just my counselor and I knew about my status. And it was bad because at some point I was being given drugs, Sabri, from the hospital, and I would throw them away because I didn't want my parents to raise the questions, why are you taking drugs daily? And that could have been the reason why I developed a stroke at 20. I decided to come out public because I wanted to be free to take my drugs without questions. But I also, that was the reason. I wanted to be free to take drugs. Now, disclosure comes with its own negative side.
Yeah.
You might feel, you might experience stigma from people, and the stigma that I experienced was not obvious. This is people are just people don't want to relate to you. And I did not experience stigma only because of HIV. I experienced stigma because of losing my child at a young age. Because we were living in a slum area, and some women would say that I had a shadow of death. And yeah, this was one of the women who said I wanted to kill her baby because I have just buried my baby and have shown up to her house. Yeah, so there's a lot of stigma, not only surrounding HIV, but
Was there also did you experience any sort of self-stigma? Did you ever experience any sort of kind of feel at that time powerless or worthless, or that you deserved it, or those kind of unhelpful thoughts? And how did you deal with those?
Well, I experienced a lot of that, a lot of self-pity, a lot of just asking yourself a lot of questions, crying yourself to sleep. And this is the time that I started writing a book about my experiences. And reading that book right now, that manuscript, it's still a manuscript. Reading it right now, I think it would not benefit people who read it. So I have to rework it because it had a lot of self-pity, a lot of those inner thoughts that one.
But you needed some way of coping with it, and that is what the manuscript helped with. I'm sure. Getting those things out on paper. Yeah. That's fantastic. I do hope you're going to rework that, because I'm sure that your story, I mean, we also need a real view of what someone's experiencing and not just the beautiful view. And I think that is where we are going with this, is that very often within a social media space or within a public space, we always portray a certain aspect of our, but I think it's also what people
toxic positivity, what they call it.
You know, and people do want to feel the real sense of, okay, what led to that? I mean, I can feel exactly what you're saying. I also have experience of child loss, and so I can't even imagine that having had lost a child and then still have all these other barriers and stigma and discrimination for multiple other reasons, how hard that must be. If I just faced one slice of this, and it was intense. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. That's really, really commendable. I mean, to dig yourself out of that and then to use such a positive resource of writing. People very often think journaling or writing is meant for someone else. And when we think about self-care, we often think about some expensive spa day and whatever. And that is just a short, it's money that you're wasting, but, or not wasting, but investing. But at the end of the day, writing and communication is really one of the biggest tools we have for healing. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so from my end, I just wanted to know, I know you write opinion pieces. We are all Aspen Fellows. This is what we do. And your opinion pieces have been around sexual reproductive health and around period poverty. Is there something that pushed you specifically into sexual reproductive health rights? I mean, yes, HIV forms part of that, but was there something in your personal journey that kind of pushes you to the space when you're writing?
Well, period poverty, first of all, I would have easily taken HIV advocacy and would have fit in HIV advocacy. I have all the reason to. But then I was thinking of, there are other young people who have not been infected with HIV. And HIV has been tackled a lot. And so that is the reason why I decided to do sexual reproductive health, because it is wide. It encompasses HIV, it encompasses period poverty, it encompasses cultural practices. Yeah. So period poverty is when people, menstruating people do not have information, do not have access to menstruation hygiene products. They don't have access to sanitary facilities, and they also lack ways of proper ways of disposal. And I thought this is one of the things that I experienced as a young person. And this is probably even one of the reasons why I got into a relationship with an older man, so as to finance my sanitary to buy my sanitary products. And so yeah, that is the reason why I really advocate for that. Kenya, I don't want to discount that. Kenya has been a champion of sorts. It has been a pioneer. It amended its 2017 Basic Education Act to mandate that all school-going children, all school-going menstruating girls, to be provided with free sanitary towels.
Wow.
But even at that, you find that there is a gap, And that is why organizations like Skiza Mwanadada Initiative come into play, because we provide sanitary towels. We do pad drives, so that to meet that need, because there is a need. Yeah. So we try.
I didn't actually know that they were doing sanitary towels for free at schools. I mean, we're not there yet in South Africa, but we have many organizations doing what you are referring to, as well as I also do sanitary towel drives and try to go the sustainable route. How has that turned out? I mean, if you think about sustainability and sanitary towels, is it the product, the reusable product, is that acceptable within the spaces you're in, or is it not really something that's being used there?
Well, I have been involved in pad drives for the disposable, where we are distributing disposable sanitary towels, and we also have partnered with organizations that make reusable sanitary towels. So they're beginning to get accepted in the community. But then it raises also an issue, because in period poverty, there is the sanitation, the hygienic access to water, access to cleaning facilities. These sanitary towels, these reusable sanitary towels, sometimes you can think of them as covering the sustainability aspects, because girls can wash them and reuse them. But then in some areas it can cause a health hazard, because this can be also a source of infections.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. It's that privilege aspect that you're looking at now again, who has and who doesn't, and what it would sort for. Okay.
Yeah.
And Juliet, in your experience as a global advocate and interacting with activists from all over the world through different platforms, so what similarities have you seen in the struggle for access to menstrual hygiene in other parts of the world, and what differences have you seen, in your interactions with other activists?
Well, in my interactions, I've seen that, as you rightly put it, it's a global problem. In South Africa, as Rene has said, they are surprisingly quite behind from Kenya, and in meeting provision of menstrual hygiene products. India, I've seen that they have programs that produce sustainable menstrual hygiene, menstrual pads from banana fiber. In Uganda also I saw that there was a program that was they were producing their own banana fiber for menstrual hygiene products. So they are absolutely of course the motivation behind all these period poverty activism is to keep girls in school, because we do not want girls to miss a day for menstruation. It's 5 days. The average is 5 days, and these 5 days per month are very they're very significant for girls if they lose, and once they lose, they're competing against their male counterparts. And once they stay away from school, they have to play catch up. So access to menstrual hygiene products keeps them in school. Actually, it's keep a girl in school.
Yeah.
By so that you give them the same chance of competing with their counterparts.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think what you've said, Taha, also gives food for thought. So I suppose our campaigning around this, our work and activism around menstrual hygiene and menstrual poverty, menstrual poverty, also looks at different aspects. And I think it comes through in what you've said. I mean, you're speaking as someone living with HIV, but you're not only someone living with HIV, you have so many facets to you. And I think that's what you bring across. You're a woman, there's reproductive health, there's gender-based violence, there's so many caveats to that. And so, yes, sexual reproductive health is so broad, and you are able to kind of touch on it all. So is that the main work of your organization around sexual reproductive health? And then do you do, because I know you're into digital communication, so do you do anything around social media content or anything like that within your space as well?
Well, being a communication consultant, working on different projects, I give that skill to my nonprofit and do advocacy even online. On Twitter right now, you can do advocacy through Twitter. There are tweet chats. There are live. Their Facebook live their Facebook lives. I also run support group for parents on Facebook.
Wow.
Parents to teenagers. So we are 85 parents there. So yeah, where we encourage each other to just talk about sexuality to their children. They're not parents of teenagers only, but they're parents. Any parent can join. So Mwanadada's initiatives are many, but also they are digital media is one of them.
Fantastic. I'm left with one question, and that is, what is the meaning of your organization's name?
Skiza Mwanadada initiative is listen to the girl child initiative.
Beautiful.
Mwanadada is the girl child, or girl child listen. So
Okay.
yeah,
Beautiful.
it's for the girl child listen, because I use my story and we bring other women in different professions to just inspire the girls, inspire the young people, but also we want to listen to the young people. What do they have to say? What is their story?
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm very glad I asked that now.
And thank you so much, Juliet. And if in parting, we can have a sentence from you, a tweetable sentence for other activists working in this space. So what advice, what feedback do you have for other activists working in this space? And it's a small tweetable sentence. We would love to hear.
I ended up being a role model. I ended up living my life not for myself, but what will society say? But then I forgot that I was human. So every person, even if you're doing this work, remember that you are human and you are allowed to live your life